Welcome to the Vitamin Professor podcast, brought to you by VRM Media, publisher of vitamin retailer and nutrition industry executive magazines, in partnership with Nutraland USA. I'm your host, Dr. Gene Bruno, Professor Emeritus of Nutraceutical Science and Chief Scientific Officer of Nutraland USA. The purpose of this podcast is to help educate the dietary supplement industry about the science of nutraceuticals and other relevant topics. If you like what you hear and see, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Lara Niemann's 30-plus year marketing career is centered on improving quality of life. She is passionate about spreading joy and confidence through VERISOL, bioactive collagen peptides, and its benefits on hair, skin, and nails. She joined Gelita in 2003 and was at the forefront of creating markets based on the health benefits of bioactive collagen peptides. Lara lives in her 5th-generation family farm in Nebraska with her husband and 3 teenage children. She holds bachelor's and master's degrees in business administration from Nebraska Wesleyan University and from Southern Illinois University-Carbondale, respectively. Today, Angie's going to talk to us about VERISOL, a hydrolyzed collagen peptide that I've personally used more than any other collagen in formulating dietary supplements. Welcome, Lara.
Thank you. Great to be here, Gene, and happy to hear about your firsthand experience with VERISOL bioactive collagen peptides.
Yeah, well, it's one that I've had quite a bit of experience with. And so I have a number of questions I want to jump into with you to help educate our listeners about this. So, there is a whole lot of talk about collagen peptides these days. Are they all the same?
I have a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is no, they are not all the same. Now, the longer answer is let's kind of dive into that and talk about why not all collagen peptides are the same. I often like to use the analogy of comparing collagen peptides to cars. And that's basically because we're all familiar with driving vehicles or riding in vehicles. So much like collagen peptides, cars are not all the same, right? They might be effective in getting us from point A to point B, but it really depends on what you need that motivates the choice of your car, right? If you're living in the inner city and you need efficiency and a small vehicle to get in and out of tight parking spots, you would choose a certain type of car. If you live where I live in the middle of Nebraska, very countryside, and we haul lots of big things, we need heavy duty, we're going to look for a truck. Both get us from point A to point B, but they offer different benefits. So let's relate that back now to collagen peptides. And before we get into benefits, I want to talk about 2 words that are really prevalent in the conversation around collagen peptides. And the first word is bioavailability, and the second word is bioactivity. Right? So I do what most people do. I consult my online dictionary to get a good definition of what these words mean. So bioavailability, of course, that's the degree and rate at which a substance is absorbed and made available. Bioactivity is the ability of a substance to have an effect, to be active on a living organism. So we already know that these 2 words are different. And now let's talk about how that relates to collagen peptides. So the simple fact is that all collagen peptides, which are simply denatured protein fractions from animal sources, they get broken down in the gut into individual amino acids, di and tripeptides, and they continue their journey through the body, right? They become available as fuel, so to speak, those famous building blocks, right? The peptides are highly digestible. Scores of literature show about 99% all collagen peptides are highly bioavailable, but not all collagen peptides offer the same level of bioactivity.
Yes, there you go.
Not all collagen peptides have the ability to stimulate the cell into action. So I would encourage, as your listeners or viewers, Gene, are trying to decide which collagen peptide they need for their formulations, a couple of really important things come into play. It's not a one-size-fits-all world, right? It depends on, are you looking for a specific or targeted positioning, or do you just need to have the word collagen peptide on your package? Do you need ingredient-specific scientific support? I hope we'll talk a little bit more about that later, about
Indeed.
clinical substantiation. Dosing. Do your formulations require a certain dosing level? What sort of proof do you need for efficacy of the collagen peptide? Again, it's what do you as a brand owner have in mind for your target consumers and for the identity of your brand? So not all collagen peptides are the same, and the right answer really depends on what it is that you're looking for.
Good explanation. Now, you've sort of differentiated between, different collagen peptides. So let me expand on the question and say, what are the differences between a bovine, a porcine, and a marine collagen source?
Right, that's a really good question, and one that has created a lot of confusion in the marketplace as of late as collagen peptides continue to trend. So in the little dissertation I just gave, right, I talked about the peptide profile. So the magic, so to speak, the efficacy of collagen peptides are based on that particular peptide profile, the bioactivity level of the peptide. And that bioactivity is independent of the raw material source. So first of all, we all know that collagen peptides come from animals, whether it's mammalians, bovine or porcine, or fish or marine sources, or even poultry sources. Now, there can be slight differences in the amino acid profile of collagen peptides from different raw material sources, but the amino acid profile isn't what's contributing to the efficacy or the bioactivity. That goes back to that particular peptide profile, the fingerprint, so to speak, of a unique collagen peptide. So the beauty of different raw material sources for collagen peptides, it really lends a brand owner to customize their product based on what they believe their consumer preferences to be, whether it's for ethical or religious purposes. It also allows flexibility in meeting certain regulatory standards around the world. So I would say the difference in animal source is really inconsequential to the efficacy of the collagen peptide and just allows brand owners more flexibility in meeting the needs of their particular audiences.
Very good. Very good. Now, we live in a country where oftentimes more is thought of as being better. I've seen collagen products on the market that they'll provide as much as, like 20 grams of collagen. How does 2.5 milligrams of VERISOL compare to that?
Right, so here we're talking about 2.5 grams, and not 2.5 milligrams, but that 2.5 gram dosing with VERISOL. Let me start by saying it has been clinically substantiated in numerous studies. We'll talk more about that, I hope, in a little bit.
Yep, we will.
You are absolutely right, Gene. We are a supersized society.
Yeah, right.
If a little bit's good for me, more must be better. Now, I'm generally a fan of that mentality, especially when it comes to French fries and things I like to indulge in. However, when it comes to collagen peptides, specifically for beauty benefits, hair, skin, and nail health, the optimization of VERISOL bioactive collagen peptides, we have an internal saying. We like to say VERISOL delivers more of the right thing, which is that particular peptide profile, to the right place, specifically targeting the cells of the skin, where it does the right thing, which is to stimulate the body's own collagen production. So because of that optimization, we don't have to take a gamble and say, you better take 20 grams to get the effect. We are delivering the right thing, the right peptide profile to the right place to do the right thing. And that has also been shown in vitro cell culture experiments, as well as a number of published, peer-reviewed, high-level clinical studies.
Yeah. And, I would just add to that, again, this idea that more is always better. It's not. It's not always better. One example is, if you look at some research on beta carotene, where they look at it, there was an interesting study done where they looked at a couple of dose levels. One was 30 milligrams, one was 90 milligrams. And they were looking at its effect for reducing UV-related skin aging, okay? And at 30 milligrams, it was like a bell-shaped curve. At 30 milligrams, you got the maximum result. When you got to 90, it went down. It wasn't better. It was actually worse. Or let me give one that most people will gather. If you say, I want some coffee because I want a little bit of energy, you don't go and get a 20-ounce decaf. You're more likely to get a whole lot better result from just a single little espresso than you are from a 20-ounce decaf. They may both be coffee, but the smaller one in this case is going to yield better results. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the research, and it's one of the things I like about VERISOL. But we will get to that shortly. So let me ask my next question.
Sure.
Aging. Aging. So as we age, what happens to the collagen that supports our skin, our muscles, and our joints?
Right, that's a really good question and an important conversation to have. First of all, I want to start by saying aging is a privilege, right? So let's embrace it and do it with some grace and dignity, because it is indeed a privilege. Before we talk about the aging process, I think it's important for your audience to understand the role of the body's naturally occurring collagen. So 30% of the body's protein is comprised of the naturally occurring collagen in our bodies. Our bodies know how to produce collagen. It's the most abundant protein in the body, and it is responsible for many of the most important of the body's structures, right? Skin health we know about. However, collagen is foundation in muscle health, tendons, blood vessels even, bones, and so much more. Now, those healthy collagen levels contribute to the things that we love. Healthy, glowing, elastic skin, beautiful hair, strong nails, strong bones, strong joints, all this good stuff that we like to say keeps us vital and in the longevity game. Now, here's a bit of a downer bit of news. In men and women alike, collagen production peaks in our mid-20s.
Yeah.
So for those of you in the audience that are in your mid-20s, live your best life, because after mid-20s, the body's ability to naturally produce its own collagen declines about 1% year after year after year. And yes, it can get worse. In women of the in that postmenopausal phase, that rate doubles to almost 2% per year.
Oh boy.
Right. So the research shows that really by the time we're reaching age 60, only about 40% of the body's ability to produce its own collagen exists, right? That underscores, we don't always know what's happening either, right? I'm not sitting here going, oh, my collagen production is declining, but I see the effects of it.
Right.
Wrinkles, fine lines, aches and pains, right? That this part of the aging process that we don't love. But that underscores the importance of collagen peptide supplementation starting really as early as possible. We are surrounded by things that are hurting us, right? Whether it's high stress, poor diets, pollution, and so many things are contributing to premature aging, which also underscores the importance of early collagen peptide supplementation. So that's what's happening with collagen in the body as we age. That's kind of a buzzkill, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it is, that does happen. I mean, of course, it's not just collagen. You can look at different hormones and all of that. Like, for example, in men, testosterone, you see the same thing. After by about age 30, about a 1% annual decrease occurs sequentially there. So yeah, that certainly does happen. But to your point, we don't have to just lay back and take it. There's some things that we can do to improve the situation. So that leads me to my next question. Okay. How does supplemental collagen actually work? Does it stimulate our body's own collagen production, or does it use the supplemental collagen to make its own? Expand on that, if you will.
That's a really good question. So there is a myth in the collagen peptide world that if you supplement with collagen, you're just basically filling up your collagen fuel tank, right? If I'm low on, yeah, okay. We know, certainly you and your audience, Gene, I know they know better, but just be aware there's some common myths out there.
Yeah.
So all collagen peptides are going to deliver amino acids, right?
Yep.
It's collagen peptides are a protein. Again, we come back to that discussion of bioactivity. There are certain collagen peptides with that unique peptide profile that are stimulating the body's own collagen producing cells to produce more collagen. So as our body is naturally losing the ability, we can supplement with particular collagen peptides to stimulate that production.
Yes.
Kind of wake the cell up and say, hey, come on, there's no resting around here. Get busy, start producing collagen. So
That's
that
right.
really is the beauty, pun intended, that is the beauty of VERISOL bioactive collagen peptides.
Sure. And who's to say that those additional amino acids might not be broken down and your body might not decide to incorporate some of them into your body's own collagen structure? But that was a really good answer, because a lot of people just think, oh, it's going to take this collagen and just shuttle it into your own body's collagen needs, and it doesn't quite work like that. I mean, even if we happen to be a bovine or a porcine or a marine animal ourselves, it still doesn't quite work like that. So
Right.
excellent answer. Okay. This is my favorite part, because I'm a scientist, and part of what I do for a living is I coordinate human clinical studies. And so I'm all about the studies, and I love the studies. And when I formulate, the stuff has to have studies showing it works. Okay. How many human studies have been conducted on VERISOL? And can you provide, you don't have to get extensive details, but at least an overview of some of these studies?
Sure, absolutely. So I am not a scientist, but like Eugene, I love to talk about the science because it is so important in this world in which we live. It's about trust, transparency, credibility, all the good things that we want to go to market with, and we want to support brand owners in going to market with. So let me say, there is not a single other collagen peptide for beauty benefits that has been studied to the extent of VERISOL.
Indeed.
VERISOL was only, let's just put this in context, was only launched in late 2012. And
Wow.
really since then, we say VERISOL has been changing the face of beauty for the past 13 years. And we're going to continue doing that for well beyond the next 13 years. So to specifically answer your question, today, as we speak, there are 7 published human clinical trials on VERISOL, all randomized, double-blind, peer-reviewed, all that stuff that I hear the scientists love. We love it when we have science that meets the needs of our audience. Now, the collection of this science shows multiple benefits. It's not just a one benefit ingredient. VERISOL is indeed specifically positioned for beauty from within, and that means a lot of things. What the research is showing is that VERISOL 2.5 grams contributes to increased skin elasticity, increased skin hydration, reduction of wrinkles and fine lines, improvement in the skin's surface structure. That's really important for cellulite, for example. Now, in addition to those skin benefits, the research also shows an improvement in hair related to that proliferation of hair follicle cells. And we also see benefits in fingernails, where we are seeing an increased rate of growth and a reduction of brittleness. So beauty consumers around the world, any one of those things would be a victory. The collection of all of those things is simply unmatched. And aside from the science, right, what this contributes to is regulatory compliance and approval, right? So if you're going to market with VERISOL as an ingredient and you want to make structure function claims or other positioning, depending on what part of the world you're in or you plan to market your ingredient. That breadth and depth of VERISOL's scientific substantiation carries a lot of weight with regulators. So much, in fact, that there are approved health claims that accompany VERISOL in Canada by way of a natural product number, in Brazil through Anvisa, the equivalent of the US FDA, and even in Japan, where we see approved claims for VERISOL. So when you consider the whole package and the breadth and depth of that scientific credibility, again, not another single collagen peptide for beauty from within has the rigor of substantiation that comes with VERISOL.
And so I'm going to add something to that as I mentioned earlier. You know, I've been formulating products for decades, and I have used VERISOL extensively. And while I have certainly loved the fact that all of the research that exists on it do substantiate claims, and you do have to have that marriage between science and regulatory, because you have to have support for the claims, but there's another aspect to the claims. A lot of times when you're looking at a nutraceutical, just because the nature of what was studied, you have to kind of weasel word your way around the claim. You have to be like, oh, this was done on arthritis, but we can't say arthritis, so we have to talk about healthy joints and all that. All right, but healthy hair, skin, and nails with aging is not a disease. It's not a medical condition. Therefore, it's so easy to say, this study was done on this, here's the claims we're able to make. It's a much more streamlined approach to making claims than it would otherwise be. And so it's something that's really, really nice. And I've also loved the fact that it does cover areas of skin and hair and nails, because there's been times when I've been asked to formulate products that hair, skin, and nail formula, and I knew that if my first ingredient was VERISOL, basically I've covered it all. I need to add some other stuff to make it look a little sexier than just a single ingredient. But it's supporting all of those claims. And another thing I've liked about it so much, and I invite anybody to try this, if you get some VERISOL and you take a glass of water, clear glass, and you put it in there and you watch it dissolve, and you can even stir it and say, oh, look at this. It's clear. It'll mix clear. It's beautiful. You take some sort of native collagen, other material, one of these 20-gram collagen things, and you put it in there and you mix, it comes back cloudy, all right? It tastes clean. It's clear. It's so easy to work with. And you have only one chance to make a first impression. And if you are formulating a product and you want to make sure that the consumer is like, this is really nice, this is very pleasant, it has good olfactory and taste perception, VERISOL works pretty darn good for that. Just saying from my own experience. Okay, and
this is great, Gene. You're doing my job for me. This is great.
Listen, like I say, I formulated for years, and if I have experience with it, I'd like to share that. Now, since I'm talking about that, I've talked about basically taking a powder form and doing that. But what are the different delivery forms that VERISOL can be used in?
Really limitless. And I know that's kind of a vague, stupid answer, limitless, but really it is, because of many of the points that you just mentioned, Gene. It's a powder, but it's neutral in taste and color and odor, highly dispersible, dissolvable. I am not a formulator, but I talk about VERISOL being a formulator's dream. It's an ingredient that lends itself very well to many diverse applications. So powder format is a natural one. We see VERISOL being used in beverages, whether it's a concentrated shot or elixir, or on the other end of the spectrum, a clear near water beauty beverage. It's suitable for compression into tablets, for inclusion in gummy delivery format. Also in a variety of different foods around the world. And a few examples as I was reflecting on different unique applications that we've seen with VERISOL over the years. One of my favorite has got to be a VERISOL champagne. That's quite a way to celebrate.
There you go.
We've seen VERISOL in tea bags or in coffee pods. One of my favorites is a VERISOL inclusion in chocolate. So
Absolutely.
could there be a better way than getting your beauty benefits than by indulging in a little nip of chocolate every now and
Right.
again?
And
So,
we think of things like powders and gummies and all of these other kinds of things that you taste. But to your point, because I've done this before, you can actually take Verisol and say, you know what, 2.5 grams. If you want to put that in tablets, that's like about 833 point something milligrams per tablet, which is quite doable in a tablet,
three
without it
tablets
being an
is,
enormous horse pill. And people take 3 tablets, and you got your clinically relevant dose. So that's
yeah. I have friends of mine, of course, that have access to VERISOL, and I've heard reports of them sprinkling it on their cereal in the morning or
sure.
mixing it in with spaghetti sauce, right? Why not
Why
get
not?
maximum
You
benefit?
just got to get it in. And you know, I will say that most of the formulation work I have done with Verisol has been in the sort of overall category of women's health, beauty from within, and all. We do think about that in terms of women, but I was interested to see at a place that I used to work, a guy in his 30s there saying, "Oh, I use it," and I'm thinking, "You're in your 30s. First of all, oh, there's a guy using it." Well, I'm a baby boomer, so I've had to readjust my thinking about a lot of things in terms of who's the right market for something. Um, but I was also, oh, he's pretty young to start that. And then I thought, well, but that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. And I asked him, do a lot of guys use it? And he told me that they did. So my question to you is, have you found out that men are also interested in using collagen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an interesting market trend that we're following is men all around the world. This is not unique to North America. All around the world, we're seeing men take a more active interest in what we as women call beauty. I don't know if men have a different word or way to describe it, but it really is about hair, skin, and nail health. And those things are important to, I would say, any consumer, independent of gender or age or ethnicity. It's if you have hair, skin, and nails, protecting your hair, skin, and nails and contributing to healthy hair, skin, and nails, it's important for everybody. But I do think that we're going to see more and more men in the collagen supplement aisle as we move forward.
I think that you are correct. So on that point, I just want to give a general question. Is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to make a point on? Or do you think we
No, I
covered?
think in general, your audience is probably widely aware of some of the chaos and confusion in the collagen peptide space. So we say this to the market, to anyone we're working with, it's not a one size fits all. If you're working on a hair, skin, and nail product, naturally, I'm going to say VERISOL is going to be an ideal choice. But again, we encourage our customers and prospects to consider those criteria that are most important for their brand and for their target consumers. And then let's have a discussion, right? Challenge your ingredient suppliers to show the proof, to talk about clinical
Yes,
substantiation, regulatory compliance.
yes.
We welcome those conversations. We're not going to hide from it. We're not going to run from it. We want to engage with you. We want to be transparent and credible. And we're in this for the long haul. We want to continue changing the face of beauty for the indefinite future.
Well, thank you for that. And to echo what you said, so many times over the years, especially when I've worked for brands or contract manufacturers, you have a raw material come and they'll do the dog and pony show. Here's what we got. Isn't this wonderful? And I'd be like, yeah, get to the science. Let me see what you get. Let me see what's real here. And it was always a pleasure with Gelita because they always had the science. But yes, absolutely, people out there, if you're in the business, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in R&D, whatever you're in that is involved in product development, ask for, demand the science.
Yes.
Okay? Demand the science, because it's not just, oh, you need it to make claims, but it's good business. If there's research showing that nutraceutical works for the purpose intended, the likelihood that consumers are going to get a good result is much higher. And what happens if a consumer gets a good result with your product? They're going to buy it again.
Repeat, word of mouth, it's all the good things.
And what happens if they don't get a good result from your product? You know what? They're not likely to buy it again. So be business savvy and scientifically demanding and say, I want the research. And, certainly you'll find that when it comes to VERISOL. So,
and we're not done. I would say as we sit here and speak, there are more studies out for publication. There are more clinical studies that have started, and there are more in the pipeline. I'm not at liberty to talk too much. I can't give away our innovation.
I just want to invite you, when you have a new one that comes out that's ready to go, that's just been published, share it with me, because I do my Vitamin Professor newsletter twice a month, and I summarize 3 different new studies in the nutraceutical world, each in every issue, and I'd be delighted to include new data on VERISOL in that. So
perfect, noted, Gene. Look forward to your inbox filling up.
So thanks so much for joining us, Lara, and our listeners. If you like what you heard today, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time on the Vitamin Professor.